Welcome to the February 8th, 2021 Jamestown Rotary meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the
of the United States of America
and
and to the republic for which it stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under God,
with liberty
indivisible,
for all.
liberty and justice for all.
justice for all.
Please welcome Marion Becker and Cool to give our invitation.
Okay. Let us pray. Lord of the universe, Rotarians worldwide acknowledge your power and your expectation that we be of service to mankind. Let us renew our obligation to fulfill that expectation, just as the return of spring renews growth in the world around us, with a new commitment to help others in our community, our nation, and our world. With the power, influence, and wealth that we as leaders in this place most certainly have, let us always remember that these are blessings from you and that charity is more fulfilling than decadence. And the golden rule is a much richer yardstick than any bank account. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, very nice. Let's welcome our visiting Rotarians and guests. Jennifer Johnson is with us. She is connected to Fred Johnson at the Jamestown Estate Wineries, and they were so helpful during our wine tasting event in January. Welcome, Jennifer. Do you want to say anything? Go ahead.
First, I would like to thank everyone for their enthusiasm and their interest. We had a lovely time chatting with everybody about wine, and so thank you for picking us as your winery virtual tasting. Anybody have any questions? They're happy to email us or whatever. Yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been sending her emails ever since then, trying to get her to come, and she finally did it. Jason Samples, he's going to be our speaker. Jason, hello. Do you want to say anything? Go ahead.
I'll wait until it's time for my presentation, and then I'll say all that I can, and I'm happy to be here in the meantime.
Thank you. Any other visitors or guests?
Oh, Donna Beal.
I'm an inspector of Donna Beal, but Donna's hovering around Pat in Florida. Welcome, Donna. Let's reach the four-way test. Of the things we think, say, or do, is it the truth?
Is it
Is
the
it the
truth?
truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build goodwill and better friendship?
And will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all
concerned?
Thank you. I forgot to mention, Marissa is also a specter there behind David. Announcements. Thank you, Ruth Lundeen, for doing the Rotarily Yours this week. Committee chair announcements. Any announcements?
I'll just mention again, Literacy Committee Zoom meeting Thursday at noon. Looking forward to it.
Okay. Any others? I have no other announcements. No one sent me anything. So we could head right into our happy bucks if there are no more announcements. Not hearing anything, let's go to happy bucks.
I've got to pay a happy buck for Windstream finally bringing high-speed internet to us. So far my connection's been good. So
Great.
Very happy about that.
Any other happy bucks?
I got a happy buck just because Marissa and I are running up to Buffalo at the end of the week and getting our COVID inoculations.
Yay.
Good for you.
Yeah. And me.
Joni, I have a happy buck. After my
Okay.
presentation last week, we had one member who has contacted me wanting to do a recurring donation to the JCC Foundation. So I'm very thankful.
Oh, nice, Marie. Nice.
Good return on investment there for 20 minutes of your time.
I'll take it.
That's right. Don't be shy. Anybody else? All right. I think this is pretty amazing. We've just had a 5-minute visit meeting. So please welcome Kurt Young, who will introduce our speaker.
Hello, Rotarian friends. It's nice to see everyone. Once again, this is always a highlight of my week, so it's great to be here together today. And it's my pleasure to introduce Jason Sample as our speaker today. I believe probably many or most of you probably know Jason already. I want to give just a brief introduction of Jason and then turn the time over to him for his presentation. So Jason has served as the Public Affairs Director at WRFA Radio since July of 2011. Jason is a native of the Jamestown area. He's a graduate of Faulkner High School and also attended Jamestown Community College for 2 years prior to transferring to West Virginia University, where he majored in broadcast journalism and graduated in 2000. Prior to working at WRFA, Jason worked for several years at Media One Group as sports director, news reporter, and disc jockey. He also served as the editor of the weekly Chautauqua Star newspaper. He is currently a trustee with the Chautauqua County Historical Society, and in the past has also served on the board of directors for Infinity Visual and Performing Arts. And he currently lives in Faulkner with his wife, Johanna, and their 2 cats. So with that, we welcome Jason. We're grateful that he's here and taking time to join us today, and I'll turn the time over to you.
Well, thanks, Kurt. And thanks everyone for inviting me to participate this week and share some details about WRFA Radio. I've got an outline of WRFA. I think a lot of you are familiar with the radio station. I know some of you are more familiar than others, so I may bring up some information and details about the radio station you already know. Keep that in mind that I may be retreading some tires here, saying some things you might be aware of, but obviously with so many members in your group, there could be some things they're not aware of. And so it's for their sake as well as a refresher for you. Also, I see a lot of familiar faces on here. I've either interviewed you all or have done projects with you in collaborations, and it's great to see so many people involved with Rotary. And I feel much more comfortable knowing that I know half of you, if not more, than what I thought when I was invited to partake in this meeting. But I enjoy doing these things and enjoy sharing details about the radio station. So here we are. I've got an outline set up and I will be reading from that. It's easier for me to read than to go from memory. So if you see me looking down, I'm looking at my notes that's on my computer screen rather than looking at the video camera. Hopefully that's all right. Also, if you want to stop me and ask a question, you're welcome to do so. From what I understand, there'll be an opportunity to ask questions at the end. So you can wait until the end, or if you really feel like interrupting me, I have no problem with that as well. I'm easy enough to get along with. So with that being said, maybe a good place to start out with is just remind you all what WRFA is. We're a nonprofit radio station, a community radio station founded in 2004 by Dennis Drew of 10,000 Maniacs. I'm sure a lot of you know Dennis as well, and the Arts Council for Chautauqua County. It's licensed as a low-power community radio station that provides art and education programming to the greater Jamestown community. In 2013, the Arts Council merged with the Reg Lene to form the Reg Lene Center for the Arts, and we are now licensed by the Reg and are considered part of the Reg Lene program offerings. We currently have a small staff. 3 of us are involved with the general operations of the radio station. General Manager Dennis Drew, of course, he's our GM, our fearless leader. I'm the Public Affairs Director. I sort of serve as the conduit for the local community to our listeners. And then we also have a content and programming coordinator, Gavin Paternitti, who does a great job getting a lot of our syndicated programs on the air that you may hear on a regular basis when tuning into WRFA. So getting into the programming side of things and talking about some of that syndicated programming we do, we offer non-commercial radio programming, including a lot of programs that you probably wouldn't hear anywhere else. We offer educational, arts, and public affairs programs throughout the week, and they focus on everything from the music industry and food to culture, society, and state and national politics and affairs. Some of the syndicated shows that we do offer include Democracy Now!, which is a daily show that we broadcast at noon. We do Star Talk with astrophysicist Neil deGrasse Tyson. We have lectures from the Commonwealth Club out in California, and we even feature lectures from our own Chautauqua institution here in Chautauqua County. We do medical and health programming. We do several programs on books and authors, food programs such as Milk Street Radio and The Splendid Table. We do a lot of music and entertainment programming, obviously, and also a variety of short features or radio vignettes. These are small little 2-minute, 3-minute long programs that we offer in the morning. Some of them include Bird Note, the Mayo Clinic Health Minute, Engines of Our Ingenuity, Your Daily Constitutional. And again, all of these serve as sort of educational programming for our listeners who may learn something they may not have already realized. I like to think that if you tune into WRFA on any given day, you're bound to walk away knowing something you would not have known otherwise. So we pride ourselves in being in that aspect of always continuing to educate the public and our community. So we also do local programming, and that's really where I come in. Public affairs programming. We do daily news every morning, and also in the afternoons now when the pandemic hit and COVID-19 came around. We stayed on the air. I was here throughout the entire pandemic when a lot of places slowed down or had to stop. Continued working here, and we thought it was important to keep people updated on where things stood with the pandemic. So we rolled out an afternoon newscast at 4 o'clock every weekday, where we would continue to offer updates as they became available from our county health department, from the state, and even at the national level. So we do our daily news updates 3 times in the morning, once in the afternoon. We also do local news stories on our website. If there was a story that I wrote specifically, not a media release, but something that I put together, a lot of times covering the city council, for example, or the county legislature meeting, I'll put together a story for people who may have missed it in the morning during our broadcast. They can still read the news at our website, and we share that on our Facebook page as well. We do a weekly public affairs program called Community Matters. Some of you have been guests on my Community Matters program. We talk with local leaders, officials, organizations from the community, just anybody who's doing things in our community that matter. Hence, obviously, Community Matters. We do a weekly arts and entertainment program called Arts on Fire, where we talk with local musicians and artists about their works and projects. And then I also produce public service announcements for organizations that have a PSA they want to share with our listeners. And then we produce special programs. Some of you may have saw the series of debates that we hosted last fall or even the previous year. We plan on doing that again this year, bringing in elected candidates and allowing them to talk with one another to obviously bring their discourse and their differences to voters before Election Day. It was very successful. We collaborated with both Terry Frank at WJTN as well as Justin Gould from Western New York News Now to put that program together. And special thanks to the Community Foundation for giving us some funding to make it available for video. Otherwise, it may have just been broadcast on the air, but we were able to make it a live video feed that people could watch online as it happened, as well as afterward, it was streamed on YouTube. So programs like that, we enjoy doing. Also music programming. We did one with Raz and Friends. We did one with Rebecca McIlvain. The Reg Lene recently coordinated one. Our Len Berry at the Reg Lene put together a program for the holidays. In spite of not being able to do live in-person programming because of the pandemic, we still try to bring some quality entertainment to our listeners or the audience members at the Reg. And those are some examples of some of the things we've done. When we're not doing specific programming, we play a lot of music. So some of you may have tuned in at night and hear some strange music or obscure music or just music that's off the beaten path. We don't want to replicate the formats that you hear in commercial radio stations. You know, you've got your top 40, you've got your oldies, you've got country music. everybody in commercial radio has sort of a niche that they film, and we try to throw in everything afterward. So we have a lot of indie music, a lot of alternative music, even a lot of names you're familiar with, but they don't get played on the radio anymore. At least they're new stuff. I'm thinking like Willie Nelson or Neil Young. We'll play stuff like that as well if they've got a new album out and you might not hear it on your commercial radio station. And then we also do the local rush hour, which is something I'm very happy that we do. It's an hour of local music each and every weekday from 4 to 5 o'clock, and it's just local musicians from Jamestown and Chautauqua County. We've really are blessed with a large music scene here in our area for being a smaller community, and we try to showcase that talent by doing an hour of local music each and every weekday. That's at 4 o'clock again, by the way. Moving right along, we also, as a community radio station, want to make sure that the community is invited to participate in our programming. So we do volunteer programming, and we offer community members the opportunity to volunteer and contribute to our radio station. This can be done any number of ways. We had somebody who came in that only wanted to record public service announcements. So we have community members volunteer their time to record PSAs. We also have some that come in to do our music library. They're the audio files. They enjoy music. They want to help us program the music that we play at night. We have folks that do that. We also have people that do specialty shows. You remember Ken Hardley's Rolling Hills radio program, a very popular program here in Jamestown. It's no longer being produced now, but we still play the program on a weekly basis. The old episodes that he did, I think he had 100 of them all together, or just about. And that sprung up as a volunteer project here at WRFA. Ken approached Dennis Drew and said, I'd love to do a monthly program with live music. Can you help me out? And we said, certainly. And then he sort of took the ball and ran with it, but we were the outlet that he utilized to bring that program to listeners. We have the Swedish Hour with Yed Brajota. She is a local Swede from Jamestown, and she does her program in Swedish and English, and she performs, or rather plays, Swedish music for our listeners. We also have Latin Inspiration with Pastor Juan Perez. That's an hour of Spanish language programming that we do for the Spanish community. And then we also have people that just want to be the DJ, right? Who doesn't want to be a radio disc jockey? So we have volunteers from the community come in. Rob Jones, this is 3rd Street Garage. He plays an hour of music. We have the Power Chord Hour with Anthony Merchant. We do a program called Remembering Rock and Roll, where a community volunteer comes in and talks about a specific group or an era of rock and roll history and spends an hour playing music about that. And then we also even have some guys that love football so much, they do a weekly NFL program called Nobody's Watching This NFL Podcast, and they just sit around for an hour and talk about football. I like to think we're Chautauqua County's only radio program devoted to the NFL. So we've got that going for us, right? Then we also do collaborations with other organizations as well. I know I see Noah's here, and Noah, myself, and Ashley Sensky sort of do a passion project on a regular basis called Western New York History Podcast, where we talk about local history. And I can't really do that without the help of Noah and the Fenton History Center. And then I've also collaborated with numerous other organizations as well to get programming on the air. And I can remember back when I was serving on the board with Infinity, I approached Shane Hawkins and said, let's do a weekly Infinity Spotlight show. We play a song from one of the students at Infinity. So things like that, we always try to do. I know the Jackson Center was another organization that we've worked with in the past and look forward to working again in the future. So we really just try to be that bridge between different groups, individuals in the community, and then again, the listeners who tune into WRFA either at 107.9 FM or by streaming online at our website. Obviously, how does the radio station stay on the air? Well, it's funding, obviously. We're a non-commercial radio station and a community radio station. That means we're not allowed to run commercials or advertisements like you hear on most commercial radio stations. And as Kurt noted in my introduction, I spent about 8 or 9 years working at Media One Group, and very familiar with the process of commercial radio, with advertisements coming up just about every 10 or 15 minutes of radio programming to pay the bills, as we like to say in the radio industry. I can't really do that with a low power community radio station. because the FCC doesn't permit us to do advertising. But we do underwriting, and I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with underwriting. For businesses and organizations, we're in exchange for a contribution. We periodically announce the business and its general information. We call these general support announcements, or GSAs. FCC guidelines don't allow us to run the GSAs in the middle of our programs, but we can run them at the top or even the bottom of the hour before or after a program is broadcast on the air. So that's sort of us recognizing our community contributors and the businesses that underwrite for us without really doing an advertisement. Gets a little bit in the weeds, but basically we can't do a call to action where we can't tell you to go down to the hardware store this weekend for their buy one, get one free special. We can't do anything like that that calls to action our listeners, but we can say support for the radio station was brought to you by the hardware store located at this street in this community, and here's their phone number, and we can do that. So that's sort of the difference between a general service announcement and a regular all-out radio commercial that you might hear on commercial radio. We do different levels of underwriting, so you can get a GSA that might run only once a day, or if you give us a lot of money, then obviously we throw your GSA on a lot more frequently. Like other nonprofits, we also rely on donations from the community. Those are offered through outright giving or by attending in any of our fundraisers that we've had over the years. We do the annual, before the pandemic, we did the annual Great American Picnic at Southern Tier Brewing Company, where we put on 3 hours of live music for our listeners, and for a small donation, you can come and enjoy the fun and festivities, right? We also get funding from the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. That's a federal funded program that uses a formula to allocate money to the radio station in 3-year cycles. A large component of that formula is local contributions we receive. So we only can qualify for CPB money if we receive a certain amount of local contributions and donations each year. Of course, all this information is on our website. It's available at WRFALP.com. And if you want to follow the radio station on social media, I suggest Facebook. We also have a Twitter page as well. I think that about does it for my presentation, but I'm more than happy to answer any questions you all might have. So let her rip if you have any. Hopefully I didn't go too fast or I wasn't too long-winded.
Come on, there's got to be a question.
Okay, I'll ask one.
Please do.
Okay.
Jason, I am an outsider, I'm going to call it, because I didn't grow up in Western New York, and we moved here 7 years ago, but have spent a fair bit of time over the last 15 years here. And I have learned over time, as I've attended board meetings at the CCVB, for instance, that there is a historical, I don't want to call it a divide, but I'm going to use that word because I don't have a better one, between Jamestown and the shoreline of Lake Erie. And obviously a lot of it has to do with the history of this county in terms of part of it is agricultural and grape centered along the shorelines, and part of it is more industrial and, factories and things like that were in Jamestown. Can you address that element? I appreciate that your radio station is based in Jamestown and therefore is Jamestown centric. What do you think about the rest of the county outside of it?
Well, I think the rest of the county is great. Obviously, through my involvement with the County Historical Society, I'm a trustee on the County Historical Society, and my involvement with the Chautauqua Star newspaper for a couple of years there. The publisher's main emphasis when I worked with him on that project was to try to bridge that divide, right? We really wanted to be a county-wide publication. I remember Stacy was one of my co-workers there, Stacy Handon, who I think is sitting in on this somewhere in the view of 40 different people that I see, but we worked together, and that was sort of the emphasis, right? Was to try to make people understand and realize that we're really a singular county and a singular community. I think it takes a lot of work, and I think Vince Horrigan probably could even answer this question better than I can, being a former county executive, right. that there is that divide there, and there's numerous reasons why. It has everything to do with the media and how you have a South newspaper and a North newspaper. You have radio stations that function primarily in the North and primarily in the South, and And I think a lot of that, because of that limited coverage that they give to the opposite end of the county, is the reason why people may still see that as existing. But I think there's a lot of projects out there, and I'm no expert when it comes to countywide projects, or from what I have done, it seems like there's a lot of efforts to bridge that divide and make people more aware of what's happening in Dunkirk, or makes folks in Dunkirk more aware of what's happening down here in Jamestown. But you're right, that divide does exist, and I don't really know if there's an answer to get over it, but I know there's definitely a lot of efforts being made to try to do so.
And maybe we're being too critical by using the word divide. Maybe what we should be saying is, let's brag about the different attributes that Chautauqua County has. And so it extends all the way from the agricultural vistas along Lake Erie to all of the elements and history that Jamestown has to offer. But I laughingly say we need to have a north-south sort of post-Civil War. It's not a Civil War. That's the wrong phrase, but sort of a north-south coming together.
Well, that's a heavy lift, but I think many hands make light work. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and I'll throw one story in there. We happen to have a French picnic every spring outside in the farmhouse gardens, and we call it French picnic because we have French baguettes, okay, that are available for sale, and we offer cheese and charcuterie, and you can have a French picnic. And someone, a guest sitting in the garden, said, I feel as if I'm in France. And I said, yes, that's the idea. That's what we want you to feel. And then I paused that evening when we had a winemaker's dinner, and I said, wait a minute, this is Chautauqua. We should be proud that this is Chautauqua and that this sense of place is what we're creating here. Let's call it Feels Like Chautauqua. I don't know.
I like that.
Okay, I'll shut up.
Does that mean I have to change my background photo so I think that I'm not at Augusta? I'd rather be at Augusta, honestly.
I thought you were zooming in from down south, Mike. You had me fooled. I thought you were at the Super Bowl, and maybe I
so wish, but no, I'm zooming from 2020 Allen Street in Faulkner.
Jason, I have a quick question. I am a casual listener, and thank you for your presentation, because I just found out that I am really missing out on a lot of interesting things. So I would have no clue what your average listener numbers are. And it'd be kind of interesting, I thought. Now, there's probably a technical term for that, which I do not know, but how many people listen to your station daily?
That's a good question. And that's one that we try to figure out as well, only because there's, you hear a lot about the Nielsen ratings, right, in television. Well, they have Arbitron in radio. And for the right amount of money, Arbitron will let you know the number of people who listen to your radio station based on the surveys they do. But most of the smaller markets don't really get involved with that because it is rather expensive. Now, I can tell you that we do keep track of our analytics on our website. So I know how many visits. We get about 5,000 visits a week. So I know that there's people who will come to our website to read our news stories or maybe stream our station, because we do stream no matter where you're at in the world. You can go to WRFALP.com and stream the radio station. So even if you're outside of our broadcast frequency, you still can pick us up that way. But it's, that's a really tough question to get at, because it's so hard to quantify who's tuning in at any given time or any given week, because there's just no way to know when somebody has a radio turned on, for example. With streaming, it's a little bit easier. And I know that we typically have anywhere from 25 to 50 people streaming a day. Sometimes with different programs, it's more than others. But yeah, it's a number that I can't give you off the top of my head, other than say that our broadcast area reaches 75 to 80,000 people. And I would like to think that we have a good portion of that listening to us, but I don't know the specific number.
Okay, thank you. We'll just
I got a
call
quick
it 10,000.
question.
Yeah, that works for me. Let's call it 20,000. What's up,
Jason?
David?
I got a quick question.
Yes.
Am I jumping on top of somebody? I don't.
No.
Okay, Jason, my question, first of all, I'd really like hearing you talk about what you're doing at the station, because it is a great asset to Jamestown to just have that that voice. You hear a lot about balance in media these days, and whether it's print or TV or radio, and get to the point where you turn on this station because you want to hear this point of view, or that station because you want to hear that point of view. You're probably really interested in putting as much balance in your point of view as you can. What is it that goes into your thought process that makes you feel comfortable that you're offering a balanced point of view to your listenership?
Well, when it comes to programming that I work on specifically as the public affairs director, I just go back to my J school days where you were sort of taught to try to remain objective and try to remain balanced. And that's something that can only come with time. I think a certain level of ambivalence, I've always been somewhat ambivalent, easy to sway one way or the other, depending on what you tell me, makes it easy for me to remain balanced as well. But when it comes to the program offerings and the people we bring on, and I don't necessarily think that it needs to be one side of the political coin or the other, but it does need to be an issue that the community should be aware of. And then you bring in as many people or the people who know about that issue to talk about it. And if there's a difference of opinions, you want to make sure that both of those opinions are at least mentioned in your news story. Or if you're doing an interview and somebody makes an issue and somebody disagrees with it, to give that person who disagrees an opportunity to come on and share their side of the story as well. A bit of knowledge about the issue is helpful for me as a moderator of community issues, because then if somebody makes a misstatement or an outright false statement, you can call them out and raise them on it. But I found most of the guests that I bring on are people who are from our community. And I noticed that in Chautauqua County and in Jamestown, it's not nearly as polarizing as you see on the national media. So a lot of the national media, it seems like we really have this huge divide between the different sides. But I think the more local you get, the less you see that, and it's more people looking for a common good. But that's basically my approach to dealing with issues and talking about local issues.
All right, great, thanks. Yeah, that's a great answer, thanks.
Yeah, Vince.
Hey, just two comments. First of all, Jason, I always admire your focus on issues, whether it was community matters, interviews that we did. You're extremely well prepared, and you could tell by your intensity that you really want to get information out to the public. It comes through, and I congratulate you on that. That also meant when I came on your show, boy, I had to have my ducks in a row a little bit, because I knew you would find an avenue there if to try to get to the real story. So congratulations. And the other comment I would make is on this north-south divide or whatever, there are tremendous actions underway to work across both areas. There's reasons for it. They're longstanding, but the United Ways, both South and North, working together. I witnessed just recently with a COVID fund, really close working relationship. Also the community foundations, both Tori and Diane working together. And then of course, if you stay in touch with what's going on with the IDA, Mark Geis is leading a county-wide effort to coordinate and collaborate all economic development. So kind of more is made of it than I think there is. There are, like a lot of things, people have local interests, local jurisdictions. One thing I always found a little disappointing is the students at SUNY Fredonia rarely came down to Jamestown to the Comedy Center or Lucy Fest or what's going on. That's an area that we continue to work on, I think, to get SUNY Fredonia students down here as well. But there is tremendous efforts underway to go countywide. Thanks.
Thanks, Vince.
Thanks, Ben. Any other questions for Jay?
I have one quick question. Hi, Jason. How are you?
Good, Lynn. Nice seeing you.
Nice to see you. So I realized that you've been at the station now 10 years. I didn't realize it was 2011. Is that when you started?
Yeah, 10 years in July.
10 years in July. So what have you seen over, and it's, kind of in conjunction with the formation of the radio station. So what's the biggest change that you've seen over the last 10 years for
I
the
think
radio station?
Yeah, the biggest change I've noticed is just the one that recently happened with the multi-million-dollar renovation of the Reg Lene complex. Part of that renovation effort was the building of our multimedia arts studio on the 3rd floor, where we host different events. That's where our debates took place for both 2019 and the 2020 elections. And this really gives us an opportunity with enough resources and capacity to expand our programming beyond just the airwaves, right? We can actually do more video-oriented programming and public affairs programming down that vein. And it's really a huge opportunity for us to continue to bring programming on and issues to the community in a different way, in a multimedia sort of a way. And also, I think it's good for volunteers who might want to be more in the video side of things. I got in the radio because of my hairline, right? Because I always knew I want to have the hairline to be a news anchor, but no, I'm always more comfortable in front of a microphone than I am in front of a TV camera. But I know a lot of people love being on video, and I think that by having this component as an asset for us, it'll allow more people to want to be involved with WRFA, and we can even do more programming for the community. So that's really been the big thing that I've noticed that we can really latch onto and grow with in the next 10 years.
And where do you see the radio station going for the next 10 years? Like, what do you think? What are the plans?
The plans are entirely up to our community advisory board, as well as our board, and then whatever visioning Dennis has, as well as myself. I think what we want to do is just focus more on growing the station. I mean, it's grown a lot in the past 15 years. People become more familiarized with it. It becomes more entrenched and sort of an institution in the city. And that's where I would like to see it go, whether it be more video programming or people still listening to the radio or podcasting and listening to programmings that way. That may be the direction we go in, is it's more on-demand style programming that people can listen to whenever they want, rather than having to listen at a specific time to catch a certain program or a certain interview.
Jason, do you ever see it going commercial instead of like a low power kind of community-based thing?
I'm not familiar enough to know what that would entail, but I do know a license to be a commercial radio station is a lot more expensive, and there's a lot more rigid standards that they hold you to. And you have to all the way get to doing readings on your transmitter on every 3 hours or 4 hours. It's just a lot more upkeep.
Right.
And so the price tag associated with it is so high, and it's kind of nice being the alternative to commercial radio. It kind of gives us a way to do other things. So I wouldn't want to see it go commercial, but it's not saying it wouldn't.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Any other questions? So Jason, is Maria on the board? Maria, are you president of the board of the Reg Lene?
I am, yes.
I thought so. Good job, Jason. I think you're going to have a good review next time. All right. Any other questions or thoughts? Thank you very much. Kirk, thank you very much for bringing Jason to us. Jason, you can come to any of our meetings. We'd love to have you as a part of the team here. We appreciate your work, keeping us informed on local matters. We realize it's a big job, and you're only one man, but you do a great job. A donation to the Rotary International Polio Plus Fund will be made in your name to help eradicate polio around the world. We're down to 2 countries now where native polio exists. There will be no meeting next Monday. I'll send you an email to remind you of that. And if you choose to pop on, it's okay. I don't have to be there. You can talk amongst yourselves. But I won't be there. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day. Remember, rodeo, there we go. Rotary opens opportunities. And what opportunities are you going to see in your world where Rotary can help? And thank you. We're adjourned.
Thanks, Joni. See you, Jason.
You're welcome. Bye-bye.
That was great.
Bye, everyone.